A scripture from Luke chapter 12, verses 22 through 34. He said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, and yet God feeds them. Of how much more value are you than the birds? And which of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your span of life? If then you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow, is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not keep seeking what you are to eat and what you are to drink, and do not keep worrying. For if it's the nations of the world that seek all these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give alms. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also."
This is a funny passage, isn't it? It's like Jesus is like, hey, everyone, are you anxious? Are you worried? Have you tried not? Thanks, Jesus. He's like, hey, I know that, you're struggling to feed your family in this place where we have 90% poverty and an oppressive and violent governance, and, people die all the time of famine and disease. But have you looked at birds lately? Because the birds are fat and well fed. What's wrong with you? Why can't you just, scavenge for carrion? I love that. Because it seems really offhand. I read that and I want to say, Jesus, I observed a bird of the air the other day get eaten by a hawk, and maybe that bird should have been a little bit more anxious. Then maybe the bird would still be with us today. So Jesus, I'm going to push back a little bit against this no worry, be happy kind of teaching you're giving us. How many people in this room have felt anxious this week? Oh, I was going to say how many people in this room are liars next, because I assumed everybody had felt some level of anxiety this week. Everyone is feeling honest and open and equally anxious. So thank you for being exactly who you are right now. How many people have found it helpful when you've been anxious or worried, when somebody says, just don't be anxious? Oh my gosh. Right? Yeah, calm down. Calm down, please. My favorite is that I'm too blessed to be stressed, right? I've been told that one before. And, yeah, that definitely helps a lot. It's like telling somebody to stop crying. You're like, if only I'd thought of that. Oh, man. Well, even though it does feel at first glance like Jesus is diminishing your anxieties and your fears, and is just simply being like, hey, have you tried not? I think that Jesus is doing something a little bit deeper. And I mean, of course he is. That is kind of his thing, right? Is to say something that seems simple and off-putting, but the more you think about it, the deeper it gets. That is entirely what Jesus is doing. So in order to get to that place, I want to tell you a story. Nicole and I got married on a budget, a $6,000 budget. And we planned that wedding, I should say she planned that wedding, over the course of about 3 months. We started dating at the end of May. We got engaged in August, and we were married in January. Yes. And part of that planning was how are we going to feed all these people? On a budget. Also, we are the sorts of people who go to weddings and they're like, oh, would you like the chicken cacciatore or would you like the eggplant parmesan? And we're like, we don't order this stuff in restaurants. We want to eat food at our wedding that we actually want to eat. Like, I want fried chicken. I want mac and cheese. I want like potato wedges. I want like good, fun food. So we found a family friend who caters events, and she made the best spread. And we made it buffet style too. So we put our table at the front of the buffet line so that we got our food first and sat down, and then we didn't have to greet anyone, because when they came up for their food, they greeted us right then and there, and we got to eat, right? She's brilliant. She's the best. And so everybody in the room is having a great time. They've eaten all of this comfort food. There's good music playing in the background. We're in a gymnasium. It is very romantic. And then Nicole's mother runs up to her at some point and says, we don't have anybody to clear the plates. And it occurred to us that we had hired this woman to cater the meal, but did not check whether or not she would be bringing helpers to then bus tables. And oops, suddenly there's all these dirty dishes all over the tables. And what do we do? Do we make an announcement? And her mother comes up and she's like, what do we do, Nicole? What do we do? And Nicole's like, Mom, it's my wedding. You figure it out. And before she could figure it out, we looked out, and my aunt, who was a lifelong server, had started bussing tables. And my sister, who was the server, was bussing tables. And her brother, who was also a server, was bussing tables. And everybody who were friends and family members of ours who had worked in restaurants before understood the situation as it was happening and then reacted to it, and then just started in their like dresses and suits and everything, just started like carrying a whole bunch of dirty dishes all around and started asking people if they could, can I get you something else to drink? Would you like a refill? Would you like this, that, and the other? Just instantly went into restaurant mode. And we just sat there and noticed it happening, and was just the most... I don't know. You never get another opportunity again where you get so many people that are so dear to both of you in one room, where you are the special person. And to watch those people anticipate a need and then fulfill that need without being asked, out of the well of their experience and knowledge and ability, I don't think I have ever felt more cared for than in that moment. And I tell young couples all the time who are getting married, I say, you can plan all you want, something will go wrong, and the people around you will fix it for you, and that will be a part of it. That's a feature, not a flaw. I went to a wedding. A friend of mine was getting married, and he and his wife were in the middle of their first dance. They were dancing to a cover of Elvis's Can't Help Falling in Love. Wise men say. And the power cut out of the whole place. It got dark, and the sound went out. And we started singing, and we picked it up where it was, and everybody who was there who knew the song sang, and they finished the dance in the dark, with the sound of their loved ones singing to them. I mean, come on. That is how we create a non-anxious place. It is not through simply saying, just don't worry about it. It is by saying you don't have to worry about it, because we will make sure you don't have to worry about it. Jesus addresses anxious people with an appeal to nature, because nature operates out of that sort of gift economy and not the kind of scarcity economy that we typically live in. It is we, humans, who operate out of scarcity and lack. And we assume that that is the created order of things. That is the inevitable outcome of people living together, is that there will be scarcity, there will be some with, some without, and that's just the way the system works. We assume that that is the way the system works. The system is not created that way, and that is not the only possible way to organize society. I think sometimes about that. About how capitalism, for example, feels like it's just the natural way things go. Right? Even the father of modern capitalism, Adam Smith, he said that, quote, "It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. We address ourselves not to their humanity, but to their self-love, and never talk to them of our own necessities, but only of their advantages." As in, the foundation of this entire system, the entire way we've organized our lives in the world around us, is that humans are inherently selfish. That is the driving, motivating force behind every decision that humans make. We are selfish. We look out for our own self-interest all the time. And so capitalism, or free markets, or whatever, the whole way Western society works, is predicated on the idea that everyone is selfish, but we can harness their selfishness. Because if we allow them free rein to be as selfish as they want, people will act in their own self-interest. And then other people working in their self-interest will compete with those people to get the precious few resources that are available. And in that battle between two selfish people, innovation will happen, and prices will go down, and so we consumers will have better products. They'll be cheaper. If we harness selfishness in battle with one another, then the world will be a better place. That's just an idea that someone came up with. That's not a fundamental law of the universe. That's not gravity or electromagnetism. That's an idea that a European man had that made a lot of sense in the European context. Honestly, is that the best we can come up with? An organizing principle that centers around the belief that all people are intrinsically awful, but that we can use their selfishness to make people fight with each other and then gobble up what they create? That's gross. And it's also really boring. And it's lifeless. There's nothing of substance to that. Markets themselves are driven by scarcity. That's built in. That's like economics 101. When they say that the markets are doing great, what they mean is there's not enough for everyone and people are freaking out about it, so prices are good. That's what the markets are. That's boring. That's gross. And I think we can do so much better. Instead of considering the CEOs, consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. Ravens are scavengers. Ravens are opportunistic. Ravens will eat bugs or animals or plants, berries, seeds. They play a crucial role in our ecosystem by cleaning up the waste that other animals leave behind. They recycle them. They give it back to the soil. They are not burdened by the anxiety of storing up food because their role in the natural order sustains them. Ravens are a gift to the world. And they give this gift of keeping the world balanced and beautiful and clean. And they belong within a complex web of life that sustains them as they sustain it. Consider also the lilies. They do not labor nor spin, yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. Lilies are beautiful. right? But the beauty of the lilies is not an accident. The beauty of the lilies is how they give to the world. Insects like bees and butterflies see flowers like in different electromagnetic spectrums. In the ultraviolet, they see landing sites. They see bullseyes in flowers that we don't see. They create beauty for us to observe so that they can provide food for the insects, who then provide food for the ravens. They support a whole host of life in this web. Their colors and forms are not manufactured through stress or toil. They emerge as a natural part of their existence. Consider the skunk cabbage. Go with me. They do not wait for conditions to dictate their actions, but they generate their own heat to melt the snow and ice, deciding for themselves when it's time to grow, and not what Mother Nature is saying in any particular day or year. And they create a tiny little micro ecosystem in the swamps in our woods on their own timetable as they see fit. And in so doing, create spaces where other, more fragile life can thrive, can get a head start on the rest of the forest, which is so often full of competition. You may never see a skunk cabbage flower in a bouquet unless you have an enemy, because there's a reason they're called skunk cabbages. But they create safe spaces where beautiful things like lilies can flourish in harsh conditions. Consider the osprey, a beautiful bird that you're going to start seeing more of now that the weather is getting warmer. The osprey eats only as much as it needs. It will leave a fish half consumed if it's full enough. It won't hoard resources. It won't overfish. And it will leave what it doesn't need in that moment on the banks of the river or in its nest or somewhere else for other animals to eat. The osprey understands the concept of enough, and their act of unselfishness feeds the ravens. Everything in nature is give and take. Everything is a gift. The oxygen that you are inhaling right now is a gift from the trees outside. And the carbon dioxide that you exhale is a gift in return to them. We have so thoroughly bought into this lie that scarcity, competition, and selfishness are the laws of nature that we miss the truth that is always inches in front of our face. The truth that nature is not a free market. Nature is a gift economy, and Jesus is inviting us to look into that gift economy and to look away from the systems of domination that humans have created, this sort of backwards, upside-down world that humans made and tried to convince everybody is normal and natural, and towards, instead, the world that God has shepherded into being, has loved into being, has delighted into being. See the birds and flowers and drink of their wisdom. And you are so racked with worry, with anxiety, because you are trying to thrive in a system that is designed to crush you, instead of a system that is designed for give and take, for gift, for receipt, and for giving. Consider instead the system that was designed for you, the system that your beautiful bodies evolved into 300,000 years ago. A system of mutuality, a system of gift, of reciprocity? What would happen if we used nature as the template for a good society? How might we arrange ourselves in that society? Actually, we've got time, let's dream a little. We might not have control over the way that Western society is arranged. That's fine. No one in here is going to rewrite the Constitution or overthrow a government and make their own utopia within it. I mean, probably not. I wouldn't put it past some of you. But maybe we can dream a little bit closer to home. In this congregation, in this neighborhood, in this borough, what would a gift economy look like here? One of mutual thriving, of give and take. What does mutual aid and mutual thriving look like in Pottstown, in the surrounding areas?